In this video, we're gonna see a lot of chronic back pain tips. I think a lot of them are probably something that you've never heard before. So let's get into this. We're gonna do this rapid fire. We're not really gonna go into a lot of depth on these issues. So let's just get started. Number one, chronic back pain is something that can actually be cured. A lot of doctors may give you the idea that chronic issues are something that's you're gonna have to struggle with it for the rest of your life. Is something like an incurable condition. They frequently say there is no cure for this, but I promise you, like, you can completely get rid of this issue. I struggled with this for a long time, but in the end, I think I finally resolved it, so I'm confident that you can also do that as well, especially if you follow my advice. Number two, and related to the previous one, doctors can actually sometimes be detrimental to chronic back pain. This happened to be the case with pretty much all of the doctors I went to, which is why I think chances are you may run into a doctor or two that's also going to be that way for you as well. I talk about doctors in a lot of my other videos, so you can check out those videos as well. Listen to your doctors, try to give them a shot, but at the same time, don't be too surprised if what they recommend actually doesn't work. And also keep an open eye here and actually be mindful of the fact that some of the things they recommend sometimes may even be detrimental to your chronic back pain. Number three, and chances are a lot of you know this, painkillers are not a permanent solution. They can and should be used initially. I think that's the best way to go about it. So take painkillers when you first suffer from chronic back pain. Maybe you have like an injury or something. Basically, you use painkillers to not let the pain develop into like a full-blown chronic pain. That's what we don't want to happen, and that's where painkillers are really useful. But after the few weeks, you're going to notice that even the effects of painkillers start to drop down and they're not really helping you. Maybe you might get recommended like stronger painkillers or increased dosages, and that can lead to like all sorts of problems like addictions, all of that. So we don't want any of that. Painkillers, they can be useful, especially initially, but they're not the final solution. Number four, placebos can actually work better than painkillers in a lot of instances. The reason for this is because chronic back pain has a really strong mindset component to it. This is predominantly a mind game in a lot of cases. There is a physical part, but also like all of the psychological, emotional parts, they can be even bigger than the physical part, which is why placebos can actually have an effect. If you think something is going to work for your back pain, chances are it will help you. Especially if you've maybe tried a lot of the solutions that the Western medicine recommends and they haven't worked. Don't be surprised if something that really sounds like strange and out there actually ends up helping you more than a common traditional like Western medicine. Number five, and this one is actually useful if you struggle with a lot of morning back pain, you want to break up your sleep into several chunks. The minimal way to do this, and what I actually recommend if you struggle with a lot of morning back pain, is to simply set an alarm somewhere in the middle of the night. Wake up, get out of the bed, like don't wake yourself up completely. Maybe you don't even really have to fully open your eyes. Just kind of get out of bed, maybe move for a little bit. Try not to wake yourself up because you still want to get good sleep, but get back to bed as soon as possible. Continue sleeping, get some good sleep, and chances are you will notice that this little bit of movement in the middle of the night helps you not wake up stiff and completely like in a lot of pain in the morning. Number six, sleep on your side. I think this is the best way to sleep about back pain, especially if you struggle with morning back pain. Sleeping on your back is probably not going to be achievable for a lot of us. It's kind of difficult to do it, and also you may discover that it hurts your back. And sleeping on the stomach is, I think it's actually a really bad idea. So sleep on your side, and that you're going to find that this is actually the optimal way to sleep, especially if you struggle with back pain. Number seven, related to sleep, put a pillow between your knees. So you're already going to sleep on your side, and putting a pillow between your knees is kind of going to align your spine really nicely, actually. And you might discover that this actually solves a lot of your morning back pain. Number eight, don't rest too much. Initially, if this is maybe your first back pain attack, maybe you haven't faced this issue before, you may want to rest for a few days, or maybe you've had an injury or something like that. Definitely get some rest, but I would be very mindful and careful if you're resting for more than 2 weeks. I think that's actually something like pretty much a maximum of time that you should rest at one point. After that, you want to get out of bed, you want to continue being active, and you want to get back into your body. This is really important. You don't want to let the pain kind of consume you and wear you down, and If you're resting all of the time, you're kind of gonna think about the pain all of the time. It's really not a good place to be in. So don't over rest. Number 9, the only supplement that you're probably gonna notice working is magnesium. I don't think any other supplement will actually help you with back pain a lot. Magnesium is probably the only supplement that kind of has like at least a little bit of an effect on back pain. Number 10, hydration is not gonna solve back pain, but improper hydration may be very detrimental. So this is just like a little checkbox that you want to tick every day. Have at least, I would recommend, 4 glasses of water, or maybe 6, maybe even more if you're, especially if you're physically active, if you're doing something that's like exerting you. Again, like, this is not gonna cure you from back pain. This is not a solution, but not doing this can be detrimental. This can result in increased pain levels. So make sure you drink enough water. You don't even need to overdo it. 4 glasses, I think, is pretty much enough for most people. You can have 6 or 8 if you feel like it, but just don't have like 1 or 0. Number 11, when it comes to exercises, strengthening your core and the muscles, especially in your sides, can be more beneficial than targeting the back muscles. There can be several root causes for back pain, not all of them are physical, but in the scenarios where the root cause is actually something related to your body, like to your structure, chances are the muscles in your front, like in your abdomen, your abs, your obliques, they are going to be weak in a lot of cases, and strengthening them will provide you with relief from back pain. And the muscles in your back may already be like a little bit of stiff or tense, and maybe you don't want to really overwork them too much. So you kind of want to have to experiment with this, but don't be surprised if you discover that targeting the muscles in your core, in your abdomen, in your sides, actually reduces back pain more than working the muscles in your back. Number 12, you're going to see a lot of exercises for back pain, for lower back pain, and I talk a lot about this in my other videos as well. They can be great, they can be a good starting point, but eventually you want to graduate to the gym. You want to go and have like a full strength training program. You want to really do this, because the home exercises, the rehab exercises, the stretching, the yoga, the Pilates, like all of that stuff, it can be good, especially like as a prevention measure. But if you're really struggling with a lot of back pain, you're probably going to want to strengthen your entire body. You really want to get strong. And the home exercises and the rehab and the stretches, all of that, they can be helpful, but they're not really going to strengthen you. You're not really going to build up a lot of muscle mass doing that. So this tip is actually you want to progress and actually graduate to a full-blown strength training program in the gym. Number 13, I believe, you may want to explore trigger point massages. This one is weird. This is a weird technique, and I will talk a lot about this in other videos. I will give you detailed demonstrations, but the self-massages that you do, especially the ones maybe with like a tennis ball or something that's hard, maybe you put it in a sock and you kind of like throw the sock over your shoulder and maybe you roll against the wall, you're going to discover a few spots that when you work them, when you massage them, it really, it feels great. And your back pain is going to drop. These are rapid fire tips we're doing in this video, so check my other videos on this technique and on these like related techniques. I think you may discover them to be surprisingly beneficial. Number 14, release work can actually be the final answer that a lot of you are looking for. So I know this may come as a surprise to a lot of you, but chances are if you've struggled with chronic back pain for more than a few months, you haven't really addressed the root cause, which in your case might actually be unresolved issues from your childhood, unresolved psychological or emotional issues, like maybe some people call this trauma. I'm not exactly like sure about that kind of phrasing and wording, but still, if we just go with it, like unresolved trauma and issues of this nature, they can actually result in chronic back pain. And addressing this, resolving these issues, you may discover that it actually like completely solves your back pain. Number 15 is to have some fun. Just taking it easy, like forgetting about the pain, doing activities that you enjoy, that put you maybe in like a flow state, maybe even like I call this like productive distraction. Maybe you're like dancing or socializing or having sex or like doing like some hobby or maybe enjoying some art or, you know, anything that's especially like creative stuff and stuff that you do with your body, like all of the activities, lighter sports, maybe like don't get injured, but you know, sport activities, things that you do with your body where you kind of forget about time and space and pain, essentially, they can be really, really beneficial. And over time, you're going to essentially train your body to be in its natural state, which is not in pain. So this one can be actually surprisingly useful. Number 16, nutrition is actually huge. Nutrition is severely underestimated when it comes to addressing chronic back pain issues. A lot of people, we just eat like garbage, whatever we find. We eat a lot of junk and processed foods. We eat a lot of carbohydrates, especially if you eat a lot of carbohydrates and fats together. This is like a recipe for disaster. And this is because raised inflammation levels actually really harm your back, and especially if you struggle with chronic back pain. So reducing the inflammation levels will typically result in reduced back pain. And number 17, related to the previous point, fasting can also be really great. I myself and many of the people I've talked to and worked with, we have discovered that fasting actually reduces inflammation a lot as well, which again, like translates into reduced back pain. Just try maybe having maybe reduced feeding window, they call it. So maybe have your breakfast later in the day, or maybe have dinner like earlier, or maybe just have one meal a day, or like even skip a day of eating. This one is actually like a secret killer feature. If I really want to feel good in my body, especially when it comes to like back and joints and all of that, I just skip a day. I don't ingest any calories, and I feel like beautiful. So experiment with this, try intermittent fasting, try fasting in general, maybe like skip a day of eating. You are gonna notice benefits and your back pain is gonna be reduced. Number 18 is, I believe, obvious, but still a lot of people seem to miss it for some reason. If you have some weight to lose, so if maybe you're over 20-25% of body fat as a guy, and 30, or maybe I'm not exactly sure about women, I think it's 30. If you're above those body fat percentages, you will probably benefit by losing weight. If you lose weight and if you get into body fat percentages that are, in the healthy, maybe even like athletic levels, I promise you, your back is gonna hurt less. Number 19 is about walking. So some people benefit from walking when it comes to back pain, myself included. I think it's actually a really good technique to manage back pain. Other people, they kind of complain about it and they say like walking makes my back hurt more. If that's you, if you believe walking actually is detrimental for your chronic back pain, I would suggest to you like kind of powering through the first maybe 3,000 steps, I would say. Your back might hurt even a little bit extra during those first few steps, but try to get into like a flow state, try and get into a nice walk, maybe put your headphones on, listen to like something that you like, maybe a podcast, maybe some music. Just get into the flow state, and you will start noticing that as you walk more and more, your pain is going to slowly kind of disappear. And then you're gonna like start having all of these like 10, 12, 15,000 step days, and you're gonna start loving walking, and you're gonna also notice that once you go for a nice walk, your back doesn't hurt anymore. So once again, if you're one of these people who believes that walking is detrimental for you, I would advise you to really try and give it one more shot, but power through the first like 3,000 steps, or maybe even 5,000, however you can bear. Try and do this. I think you're going to find it to be surprisingly beneficial. Number 20, you want to reduce sitting as much as possible. And I know this is not going to be possible for a lot of you, but you can kind of throw in a little bit of some little hacks and like tricks everywhere you can. So just to give you like a really small example, when I started this channel, I kind of wanted to do it by sitting in a chair in front of the table. But then I decided to do it standing up. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So small things like these, like, and also take like little breaks as much as you can. Maybe do the bracing techniques or sink into the ground when you do a little break. This is really gonna help you. Number 21, the magic people kind of heal faster than the logic people, and this is a kind of like a verbiage that we use here on this channel. But the people who are kind of more like maybe open-minded, they're not too rigid and strict in their thinking, they can sometimes heal a lot sooner than the people who are like predominantly logical, rational, they're like really critical thinking. I used to be like that, and I discovered that when I kind of allowed for my mind to open up a little bit, I kind of noticed more solutions. I was open-minded to trying more solutions, and what do you know, like a lot of them proved to work really well. So generally, like being open-minded is gonna be helpful in healing chronic back pain. Number 22, be brave. Use your body. Chances are, if you've had a really nasty injury like I did, you may be a little scared of your body. You don't want to like do sudden moves, lift heavy things, like do any sort of like power movements. That's useful initially if you're still hurting, if your injury is fresh. But after a while, you want to be brave again. You want to get back into your body and start moving freely. And that's how you're going to finally get rid of your pain. And number 23, check out my free book, check out my course on healing back pain, my app. I have a lot of resources for you. I think you're going to find them massively, massively beneficial. The next video that's going to appear here is also going to be a great next video to watch and on your journey towards healing back pain. I will see you there. And until next time, be brave.